Welcome to the Expansive Podcast, where we explore the frontiers of personal growth, business innovation, and technology. We believe that growth and progress come from expanding our minds, exploring new possibilities, and embracing change. Welcome to 2024 and episode number 200. We are so very, very happy that you're joining us again on this adventure this year. But before we kick off with the podcast properly, let's always check in with my co-pilot, Erik Kruger. How are you, my friend? A long time and no talk.
Hey, brother. Yeah, it's been weird. It's kind of like the holidays have been great to take a bit of a step back, but at the same time, like not having our regular ritual of having a conversation and a bit of a debrief and a decompression every single week. It's been weird. But yeah, happy 200th episode. I think that's a huge milestone, and I want to just pause there for a moment. I was looking at some stats today. I mean, just in general, dude, 200 episodes. It's mind blowing to me that we've gotten this far. I didn't really think we were going to be going for this long. You know, I thought we would do like a good amount of episodes, but I guess I didn't have expectations of where it might go and how long it would go for. But I definitely didn't think we'd hit 200 episodes. But here we are. And so a few things to note on this journey to 200 episodes is that last year we won the Best Korean Entrepreneurship Award by the African Podcast and Voice Awards. We scored a 4.8 across 240 reviews. We are in the top 1.5% most listened to in the world, according to Listen Notes. We were in the top 5% most shared on Spotify in 2022. And we've recorded about 8,000 minutes of audio over 200 episodes. Isn't that just incredible?
It really is. And it just shows you the level of dedication and patience and actually fun. I don't think you could do this if it wasn't fun, right? So there has to have some level of excitement and just wonder, actually, because we just go through it and it just really is great. And I think if you add to that, we really have some very dedicated listeners and we've become friends. And so that's really the best part of it is, we're just connecting with a community around the world. So welcome back to the Expansive in 2024. We have some exciting plans for this year and we look forward to having you along for the ride.
Yeah, listen, before we get into the pod, how was your break?
Yeah, look, I mean, it's been quite a break. I started off in Florida with Tony Robbins. We did a pod straight after that, so I don't have to rant about that at all. But that was a quick $10,000 mistake.
Quick exit, yes.
I went to Costa Rica, which was unbelievable. I did something called ISTA, which is a shamanic sort of tantra week. Really learned a lot about my body and about sexuality and just some of the trauma that many of us have that we hold around nakedness and sexuality in many ways. So it's really, really eye-opening. I feel at peace after doing that, having gone through a lot of work at that. And then I went to Guatemala and spent a week with my friend Gareth and his girlfriend Araminta. And that was amazing. It feels like Guatemala is the land that time forgot. And there was volcanoes, active volcanoes, which is just mind-blowing. I've never really been next to an active volcano. And that was amazing. And then I stopped off in New York, had a great day in New York, and now been back in Dubai for the last sort of 10 days or so. And in the next 5 days or so, the travel starts again. So yeah, it's been a great break. I feel rejuvenated. I feel refreshed, and I'm excited for the year ahead. How has yours
been? Yeah, good. Dan was away in Germany for kind of half of December. And of course, we adopted a new pup, Atlas. And so kind of my entire December was just focused around making sure the little boy settles in and that we want to get him like trained up from the start. So we've been very dedicated and focused to making sure that he learns new things and he's exposed to new environments, trying out different sort of training methods with him, taking him to the beach. And dude, he's just been loving life. So it's been so good to just spend time with him and train him up and get him to have that connection with us again. So that's been a big part of my December. And then I'm trying to think what else we did. I think mostly it was just playing paddle, going to wine farms, and just enjoying the ocean. That's pretty much like
What a win. What
the
a
challenge
win.
is that when you stay in Cape Town, every day feels like you are just on holiday,
Yes.
because like you walk out
Yes.
and it's just like the most incredible world around you all the time. So
Yes.
so that was pretty much my December. And then kicking back into gear from this week, I'm doing my keynotes start from about 2 weeks from now. So like 16, 17, I started off with 2 keynotes.
Okay.
But then I'm also busy working on PepsiCo learning and development journeys and 2 other companies. So I've kind of already started.
Brilliant.
Yeah. When do you say you travel from this week already?
Yeah, on the 10th, I go to India. I'm in India for 2 days. I'm working with the EO regional event there. Then I go to Vegas. I'm working with a company called Equinix. I'm there for 2 days. I've actually booked myself to go and see the Sphere. I'm going to go watch a show in the
Awesome.
Sphere.
Yeah, that's going to be cool.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to that. And then fly to Bulgaria. I'm in Sofia for 3 days, which I'm looking forward to. I've heard it's a beautiful city. And then I'm in Cape Town for 10 days. So we must definitely connect. And
for sure.
maybe we should even do an event. Let's see. Let's talk about that off air.
You know, what's funny
so
is
that's
that
January.
We all sort of
Sorted and
international speakers, right? Because we like I've done plenty of international events, but I think there's international.
Some of us
speakers,
are more international than others, but nobody's measuring.
That's what I'm trying to say. It's like I think there's international and then there's international speakers. I think you've really earned the designation by now.
Thank you.
Well done.
I think a speaker spoke in Botswana and he changed in international speaker. I'm like, yes, you are. You're right. You are now an international speaker.
It's the equivalent of like being a bestseller on Amazon for 2 minutes, and then you go, well, now I'm a best-selling author. It's kind of the equivalent.
And you know what? It's true though. It's true.
It is true.
There's no lying to it. It is true. It is true.
Yeah, there's just levels of truthness in it. Yes.
But lucky us that we get to do something that we love, and we can move around the world and tell stories and share our passion. And so, it's a really fruitful and very exciting and grateful life. So I'm very happy about it. But we're in for a big episode. This is usually one of our most downloaded episodes and most listened to episodes. And it's become quite a tradition as we move into the new year. And this episode is called Word of the Year. And I saw you made a post on social media about it the other day. And so what are your thoughts about this year and how?
I'd like us to start with your word for the year, because you've had your word of the year.
Every year.
Because
you've
had yours for like months already. Like mine is very new, but you've been kind of preloading this now for a while.
Yes.
But before we get to that, let's quickly just talk about why a word of the year. And it's been interesting to me that I've received quite a few messages from listeners of The Expansive with their words for the year. And it's been amazing that this discipline, I mean, it's not like we created the movement, do it. But it's been incredible to receive people's word of the years and see their reasoning behind it and see what they are hoping to achieve. And ultimately, what this word of the year does for you is that it just themes your year. It just gives you an anchor point to keep coming back to. And hopefully what it does is that it kind of creates an umbrella across all of the goals that you have, the vision that you have for your year, and it just ties all of it together. So if it's a way that you want to accomplish your goal, or a way that you want to show up consistently throughout the year, and it just keeps bringing you back into a certain state of mind. And I think that's what makes it so powerful, is that you tend to forget many things throughout the year, but this word just becomes this focal point for you. And you can use it as a filter or a lens through which you look at opportunities and goals and failures and relationships. Everything just gets tied back into this. How would you?
Very good. Look, I agree with everything you're saying, but again, what I always stress is, how do you engage? Because some people say, like I say, what's your word of the year? Flourish. Yes, okay, I get it. It's a wonderful word, but what are you doing different to flourish?
Yeah.
Like, what's your word of the year? Abundance. Okay, wonderful. What are you doing to be more abundant? How are you engaging with the word to actually make it an action rather than just some, what's it called? Bumper sticker.
Yeah.
So just be wary of not using one of these abstract words like abundance and then doing nothing about it and going back to stressing about not having enough money and worried about the future. But then what's the point of having the word abundance? It did nothing for you. In fact, it's a plaster on a sore that is making the thing even worse.
Yeah.
So a couple of things. One, whatever word you use, you've got to action it, because otherwise it doesn't make any sense. Two, how often do you engage with it? Now, I say this every year. I change all my passwords and I always add different things to it. So whatever the case you want to do with that. So all my passwords change. And that's because every day I'm typing that password 15 times a day. And so that really helps me think into sort of like the action of it. And remember, words are power. Words create our reality. And so it's a really important thing to engage with, and maybe even type up and put behind your computer or on your computer or on your phone, whatever the case may be, just to keep engaging with the word. I think that's what's most important.
Yeah, I fully agree with you on that. How do you feel about, because last year you kind of halfway through the year also thought about a different word that you might want to have for the same year. How do you think about that, like in terms of the absoluteness of, if I choose this word, I have to stick to it for the rest of the year?
No, I think you can change it. I don't think there's any rules around that. I did feel, I think in about August, September, I thought I could get a new word. I was quite happy to get a new word. But, the word had served me. I'd worked it. I'd thought about it. I'd been with it. I'd done it. And I was like, okay, maybe I could change words. So I don't think there's any rules, but let's say for the first half of the year, this will be our word of the year. But then there's no rules. If you want to change it, of course you can.
Yeah. All right, cool. I think that's a good introduction. So drum roll and tell us about your word for the year.
Okay. So last year, my word was elevate, which was really about changing my frequency to see the world in a new way. As Einstein says, you cannot solve a problem from the same awareness that created it. So what you have to do is elevate your frequency, elevate your consciousness to see something new. And last year was an incredible year for me on many different fronts, but it totally elevated my life. I did new things I'd never done before. It elevated me into positions that I was so excited and surprised and delighted by. This year, it's exactly the opposite. And this word was really introduced. I know the word, but my friend Kyle from San Francisco said it to me about 4 months ago. And as he said it to me, I was like, there's my word of the year. It was like an immediate, yes, I got it. And the word is rewilding. And the word rewilding, a way to explain it is when you go into Cape Town, for example, or even in Dubai now, and you can see it in many places around the world, is people are planting plants that are indigenous to that area. You're rewilding the nature into symbiosis with itself. So you're not bringing flowers from somewhere else or a tree that needs too much water, but you're planting things that create harmony. But in order to create harmony, you need to rewild, go down to the basics of who you are. And the reason I've chosen this word is we live in a world of incredible change, and the centered, authentic version of yourself is going to win. The one that is totally established its roots in itself, understanding its symbiosis with the world, is able to deal with all this change that's coming. Now, add to that, as a man, our masculinity has to be upgraded. And this is for many reasons. But one of the reasons is because women are so incredibly powerful and are becoming more and more powerful. And as a man, to be able to hold space for a woman, I need to be as connected as possible to myself, as to the essence of my masculinity. And the 4 archetypes of men is king, warrior, magician, and lover. And in order to be on the light side of these and the positive side of this, I need to rewild my masculinity, as in get to the core of who I am as a man, in order to be able to bring that version of myself to the world. And this is a big part of me doing Ista, the shamanic work around Tantra, is really start to understand the very essence of masculinity, reproduction, why we are here. How do we bring this level of magnanimous masculinity to the world? And God only knows how much the world needs this from all us men, more than ever before. And I think we're all incredibly disgusted with the wars that are going on in the world. We are so over the sort of brash capitalism that's seen the world become so disconnected. We are so angry with the way people treat nature. But this is all because men, mostly men, have not been initiated into their most masculine version of themselves. And rewilding for me is, how do I go through a process of rewilding myself to the true essence of masculinity so I can bring this version of myself to the world? And I think this is quite linked to me turning 50 soon. And it's in the next 18 months, I'll be 50. And it's really important to really show up as the type of energy that you want to see the world express. And in order for me to see that energy, I need to become it. And so rewilding is my word for 2020.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. It kind of reminds me of this idea that over time we also become tamed by the world around us.
Yes.
And we are taught how to do certain things and how to show up in certain ways. But there's always this desire to kind of return to your nature, to do the things that you want to do. Yes. And there's a very big tie in here for me to this idea of being dangerous as well, which is that I'm not constricted by the world. I am fully living into and rediscovering who I am and how I want to show up in this world. Not constrained
well said.
by society's expectations or perspectives of me or how they want me to be.
And I think that's also a big part of it. I think, toxic masculinity is what everybody throws around because that's an easy way to go. But that's just traumatized people. And trauma needs to be healed, needs to be rewilded so that you can show up as the most powerful version of yourself. And especially masculinity in a world where the pendulum has swung, where men have been brought to justice with what has happened in the past. And I get it. It hasn't been good. But we also, as men, are bearing the brunt of that right now. And yes, I understand that pendulum needs to swing. And I get it. I'm not here to say that you need to get over it. But it's also my responsibility to engage with a new type of my masculinity so that I can bring a more elegant, more magnanimous man so that I can be an example of where we need to go. Just for my own sake, you know what I mean? I don't even care about everybody else, whatever they want to, just for my own sake, to bring forward a brave, courageous, empathetic man that thinks long-term, that takes on the role of a nurturer, not just for his woman, but for humanity, for animals, for nature, to be the custodian of that. And you can't do that if you don't rewild, if you don't go back to your essence, where you don't heal the trauma, where you don't really start to step into that very, very powerful version of yourself.
So the masculinity one, I totally get. What is the practical application? So obviously, apart from you showing up, in a more grounded and rewilded way, what is the practical application for you into business for this? Or are you not really thinking about the business aspect of it?
Well, it's not really a business aspect for me. What it is how do I show up as a man that is there to listen, to nurture, to care, and to share?
Okay.
Those are the things as a man. And when you're able to do those as a man, it affects your relationships, your friendships, your lovers, your corporates, you just name it, your relationship with everything. The whole of nature starts to change. And to be in a state of calm elegance has always been something I've been wanting to do. I've been always, a few years ago, I remember my word was elegant power. It's like 5-6 years ago.
I remember that.
And rewilding is the behavior that's required to get you into that elegant power. It's almost like embracing your masculinity rather than judging it, which is something I've been doing without realizing, because that's what society's kind of brought about. It's like, it's bad. It shouldn't be like this. You shouldn't be like this. You shouldn't be like this. And I'm just like, yes, you're right. You shouldn't be like that. But then what's the other option? And I never had that option. And now I'm starting to see and discover new options. And if you read about the 4 archetypes of men, this magician, lover, warrior, and king, you start to realize the characteristics that are showing up that are in the dark side of these archetypes. And then you start to read what it looks like to be in the light side of it, and how much power, patient power, that you start to develop with that rewilding. It's really exciting for me.
Sure.
I think it's really one of the most deepest words that I can think of as a man. Look, I'm not a woman, and I'm sure for women it as well, but as a man to engage with is, how do you get to the essence of you? Like you at your core, you have to rewild. You have to go back to basics. You know, it's a big thing.
I think there's a deep urge for everyone to do that, to get back to nature, because that's actually what it really is. And I think that nature just obviously shows up differently for men and women. And I think for men, there's this aspect of physicality to it. And I want to kind of say, like, there's a power aspect to it. There's a testosterone aspect to it. Like, you kind of want to get back to like that feeling of
yes.
You know what I mean? Like, again, like when I think of this, I think of dangerous, because that's exactly what dangerous symbolized for me, is a breaking free of the things that keep you trapped. Like like you have this desire to take some risk and do some things with your life, but you kind of have defaulted into the space where you are just on autopilot, and like everything is just mediocre and everything is just the same all the time. But then there's this like desire to take some risk and do some new things, and like like lean into that again. And I hear so much of that, but I see where you what you are dropping down into, the masculinity part of it.
Look, when I see another man have this, it's so apparent to me. In fact, it's one of the most attractive things in another human being, to be centered, at peace, calm, and powerful. Like, there's nothing more attractive. And I'm not talking sexually. I'm just talking as another human. When you see somebody like this holding this power, I'm like, you know what? I want to do my work to get like that. I want to be like that. I want to engage with that level of consciousness within me, you know? And that will impact business, dude. What do you think? I mean,
for sure,
money will come to you, power will come to you, all those things will come to you. But you're less about proving and much more about just engaging with who you are, you know? So I'm excited about the year.
I love it.
And I think this theme also allows me to be quite grounded and at peace with myself.
I really like it, dude. One more question is, what do you think practically you need to do this year then that's going to help you to really live into this word? Because you've done Esther, you've read some books, obviously. Like, what do you think the practice of this is going to look like?
You know, I don't know. I was speaking to my friend Joe today, and I was saying to him, I don't know what I want to do next as far as some self-development in the world, right? And there's so many different options. And he said, the fact that you don't know what to do next, it's time to integrate. And he's right. It's just time to integrate. So I actually don't know. And I think the whole idea of being in your most powerful version, you don't need to plan as much. You don't need to have such set goals. You need to have a system. And I mean, we've spoken about this, but the system is how do I harness this energy? How do I be patient with it? And how do I move with grace? And that will show up. But now what I've done is I've created this sort of perspective that I want to lens my life through. As you said very well at the beginning of the pod, is this is a lens that you can see the world through, and now allow the lens to determine what's going to happen next. And so, yes, does it mean more self-development? And you know what, Erik? It might not. It actually might mean, as an elegant masculine man, hold. You don't need to be chasing. There's nothing to chase. Just hold. Things will come to you. And so, yes, I think just adopting it might really start to create a very different approach of how you approach all of these things. So the answer to you is, I don't know. And I think that's exactly what I should be doing, not knowing.
Yeah, and I think what we should also do this year is do a halfway through the year, check in with the word of the year, because what we've been doing in the past is just a start to the year and then end of the year. I think this year we should also make an effort of like halfway through the year, like what's been happening? How's this word evolving? How's it impacted what you've been doing? To provide a bit of a debrief and a reflection for that.
I agree. I think it'll be good to to stop halfway. Yeah, absolutely.
All right. I really like it, dude.
Okay.
Rewilding.
Thank you.
Everyone, if you need to get into any of John's accounts, rewilding and then just play around with the rest. Like, you'll figure it out. You already have the most important part of it.
Yes, you do. Good luck. Good luck on the treasure hunt.
He has lots of Bitcoin, so start there.
I do. And you're not touching those. But yes, good luck. Good luck. Good luck. Okay.
All right. Um,
Drum roll.
Drum roll.
This is going to be big, Erica. Let's go.
So, word for the year is new.
Ooh, okay. Talk to
Yeah.
me.
So my word for last year was brilliant. And
Yeah.
coming out of that, I didn't have anything I didn't have an aha moment like you. I didn't have an obvious word for 2024. I spent a lot of time reflecting on where I am and where I want to go to. And the word that kept popping up for me is that to get to new destinations, I need to do new things. And so new has become, I guess, the theme for me for 2024. And now that I've been meditating on it, there's a few things that have popped up. The first is that I came across a quote from a guy called Richard Evans. And he said that the undertaking of a new action brings new strength. And thinking about that, there are two things that stand out. One is that we know that venturing into the unknown, when venturing into the unfamiliar, means that you might come across new aspects of yourself, meaning that you might
you hopefully
discover,
are.
you'll discover new strengths, you'll discover new tools, and you'll discover a new edge that you could use in an unfamiliar world. And so, like, obviously, like if you think about AI, like, you know, or this like just crazy world we live in, if you venture into exploring and trying out new AI tools, you might just find a new edge that serves you very well in a new and unfamiliar world. And so one part of this for me is that when you take new action, you develop new strengths. But when you read the quote, he says, action brings new strength. And I think what he was actually saying is that when you take new action, you also become inspired by where you go. Like the new strength is actually inspiration and motivation that you gain from taking new action. So there's two aspects of it that develop out of that quote, right? Like there's the new skill that you develop, the new edge, the new strength, but there's also the inspiration and the motivation and the perseverance that comes from trying out new things. When I wrote my second leadership manual, I spoke about a mental model called explore and exploit. And I actually changed exploit because I didn't like the language of it. So I changed it to extract. But essentially what it means is that we are always operating in two different modes. We are operating either in exploration or in extraction. When we explore, we are trying out new things. We are experimenting. And the challenge is, or the danger is, that you can very easily get stuck in one of these two modes. And that's not a very good thing. The ideal situation is that you finally calibrate where you find yourself between these two modes. If you get stuck in exploration mode, what happens is that you're always trying out new things, but nothing ever gets traction because you move from one thing to the next too quickly. You are always stuck in research mode because you are very excited about something. So you're always researching the latest this or that, but you never put that into action. And so I remember a time in my life when I was trying out different business ideas, especially online, 2013-ish. And I tried out so many different ideas, but none of them ever had the time to grow. It's like you're planting lots of different seeds, but you never give it enough water for it to grow. And so like that doesn't really serve you, right? Because those seeds never develop. I even remember a time when I just moved into speaking, when I was trying out so many different sort of angles that my friends were like, and I think you even at some point said to me, like, you need to like just focus a little bit because you're trying too many things. I don't actually know what you're doing. And so that's the danger of exploration, is that you could try too many things. Like you're doing lots of new things, but it doesn't stick. Then there's the opposite side of that, which is extraction. And extraction is we extract as much value from what is working today, which is a very important thing to do. This is you like planting the seed, but also watering it. However, if you get stuck in extraction, and we've seen many companies do this, you are focusing on extracting value while the world is changing around you, and you're not lifting your head to notice this is happening. And all of a sudden, one day you are undermined by a new technology or a new competitor, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
When I think of what I've been doing over the past year, maybe 2 years, I'd say that I've over-indexed on extraction. And not as much doing what is working, but doing what I know. And so I really feel like when I think of how I want to approach 2024, I want to just do new things. I want to meet new people. I want to create content in a new way. I want to run my business in a new way because, there's this very like well-known quote that says, "What got you here won't get you there."
Yeah.
And I think I'm there. Like, I feel like I'm at that point where like everything I've done has gotten me to where I am today. But for me to get to the next space is going to require new inputs. And we've spoken about this on the pod very often, right? Like to get new outputs, you need new inputs. And so the new inputs that I've been thinking about, just to sort of make it a bit more practical, is that, and by the way, the goal stays the same, because that's an important part of this, is I'm still focusing on this process of accretion. I'm still accumulating in the same direction. I'm just accumulating things in a different kind of way. So the goal is still build an international speaking and coaching consulting business, right? That stays the same. But the how of where I'm getting there, like that's changing a bit. So to give you two, maybe three quick examples, is I think over the past 3-4 years, my main focus has been on building my personal brand. But when you think of business, there's actually two aspects to it. And in the speaking world, that's how most of your speaking business is built. I think it's new, a strong personal brand and personal relationships. I think those two things combined is what gives you a good speaking practice. Yes. I've over-indexed on personal brand, because when you think of a business, there's, I think so. And I'll tell you why, because I think there's, well, not over-indexed. It's been strategic that I've wanted to focus on that. But in the process, I've completely neglected the lead gen side of my business. So what you can think of is like, I put all my time and effort into personal branding and zero time into lead generation. And my business is twofold, right? I have the speaking side of it, but then I also have the team development and leadership development side of it. And I think they actually require different mechanisms for making them run effectively. And personal brand on its own isn't enough. And so I think this year there's a recalibration that I want to do. I want to lean more into lead generation strategies. So that's already a new way of approaching business for me.
Right.
Doesn't mean I'm laying off on the personal branding. This is a recalibration. The second is that I'm thinking a lot about new types of content. Dude, we've been speaking about AI and what AI is going to do to content as a starting point, and how it's going to just commoditize content. And what we're going to see in 2024 is a flood of AI generated content. And I'm already seeing so much of it.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen even those influencers that have been created that are 100% AI generated influencers, and they
people
are
still following them and
millions.
Loving them. Yeah,
people are loving them, and very often I look at one of those pictures. I'm like, if I didn't look closely, if I didn't pay attention, I wouldn't even know that this was AI generated.
Yes,
I'm looking at many of the influencers that I know, and I can tell because I've read enough ChatGPT content that I can tell this is ChatGPT.
Yes,
but I know that most people that haven't been exposed to this world aren't noticing that this is AI generated content that they're consuming.
Yes.
So there's that aspect of it. But then I must be honest, I'm also just kind of over it. I'm over writing another LinkedIn post. I'm over like setting up the camera in my study and like recording another video in my study. I actually made a rule this year that I'm not going to record any videos in my study. That's part of new. Like this space is done now. So I'm just trying to think of what are different ways so I can also fall in love. When we do the pod, it's so much fun. Like we have this debrief before, like we laugh a lot. We talk about, catching up with life, and it feels like a therapy session. It feels like a decompression session. So there's so much energy when we do this. And I don't feel that energy when I create other types of content. And I think I need that. I miss that. So I'm thinking about new types of content. And then, this is going through like my entire life. I'm also thinking about, I want to create a new studio space here. I want to have a nice black wall at the back because I do lots of stuff in here. So how do I create a new space that inspires me as well? So so this word is pulling through everything.
Love it.
And I'm excited to see where it takes me. Yeah, I'm excited to see where it takes me.
Do you have a plan for new? Like, what do you have anything in place?
Yeah, well, so the things that I've outlined, they part of the plan for me as well. But then
Mm-hmm.
I'm sitting with a lot of just thinking, okay, what have you done in 2023? How will you change
Mm-hmm.
that for 2024? And it's
Mm-hmm.
not how do you improve it, how do you change it? How do you make it new? How do you do it
Mm.
completely different? I'll give you another
Mm.
example. So there's a guy that I follow. His name is Daniel. His surname eludes me, but he's built multiple multiple $1 million businesses. He's
Yeah.
built 7 of them. And his one technique that he uses to build all of his businesses is this thing he called laps. So it's every single week you have to do a specific activity that generates leads that lead to appointments, that gives you
Yeah.
presentations, and then ends in
Mm.
sales. So
Mm.
essentially, it's just like every week you
Yeah.
have X amount of people coming into the business and X amount of
Yeah.
people coming out at the bottom of the funnel. So he said that for every single business he's built, he's done this process every single week, like every year, right? So like
Mm.
he runs a webinar every single week for a year. Like he does not take a
Mm.
break every single
Mm.
week. And so I started that last year. I started running these webinars and I was running them on Zoom, but like in the webinar format. And I'm running one next week and I'm doing it in Zoom meetings. Like it sounds like a
Mm.
small change, right? But like when you're
Yeah.
sitting in a meeting, it's a bit more intimate, feels a bit more sort of involved than watching a webinar where it feels like you're just watching like a video. So it
Right.
seems like a small thing, but it's new to me. It's like I haven't done
Right.
it like this before.
Right. Right. Right.
And it actually feels
So
uncomfortable
every
for me
time you
to
come
think
at a
about it like that.
crossroads, when you come to a crossroads where you going to go the old way, you're going to try something new, you're going to go new. That's
I'm going to
kind
go,
of, yeah. So that's
that
the
is
theme. Yeah.
hopefully, yes. Because
Yeah.
also,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
a big aspect where this plays in for me is with relationships.
Mm.
It's such an important part of business. And it's something that I actually really enjoy, but there is a big part of me that likes to default to not putting in the work with the relationships, to not,
Mm.
especially not creating new relationships. And I know
Mm.
that if I want my business to be an international powerhouse, it's
Mm.
going to be built through international relationships.
Mm.
That's it,
Mm. Okay.
And so,
Yeah.
yeah, sorry, what did you want to say?
No, I think it's fantastic. I think that it's almost like your word could also be uncomfortable,
Mm,
because I want to do things that put me out of my comfort zone so I can meet the world with a new version of myself. And a new version of myself is on the other side of comfortability. That's
yeah,
it, and
yeah.
uncomfortability. And so having that approach really is putting yourself into a growth mindset, because what you want to start doing is celebrating challenging ways of doing things in new ways.
Mm,
So I think it's great. I think it's very much in line with you. I think it's very good. Look, I also think you've always been quite cautious and conservative in your moves, and I think for you to be able to take this on really can push your boundaries and fast track your growth. So I think it's an
mm.
excellent word.
Thank you.
New, right?
I
Very
think that's
good.
the first time that we've ever had the pod where you have not questioned my word.
Look, as a rewilded man, I'm here to only support. Look, because I know your personality and I know that you're conservative in many ways. You don't like to
Mm,
try too many new things. I know you. And so for you to be able to take this on is
mm.
good. It's really, really good. I think it's a fantastic challenge to yourself.
You know what's actually strange? I think, and maybe even tying in with the theme of rewilding as well, is that if you backtrack me 10 years, I just come out of physio. I realized physio is not the thing for me. I realized I want to do something else. I go through a phase of heavy experimentation with businesses. Like I try so many different things, and in the process, I become so proficient with WordPress and Google Analytics and Facebook ads. And I start running like an agency where I'm actually selling these services. And like I eventually stumble onto Betterman. And in Betterman, we try like masterminds and events. And, it leads me into keynote speaking and coaching. And I do my masters and like I get into the world of leadership and team development, and I try, different sort of modalities and techniques and interventions with teams. There was a time where I was heavily into exploration. that exploration mode. And I think it got
Yes.
tamed out of me. That's what where I want to get to, is because everyone around me was telling me, you're trying too many things. And it might not be that they were wrong, because yes, like if you are, doing this one day and then something else the other day, I can't put you in a box in my head. I don't know what you're doing. So I don't think they were wrong, but I think my personality is that if I'm not over here, I'm going to default all the way to over here.
Yes.
And so I think where I'm now is I just need to recalibrate that. I just need to find a sweet spot where I'm still extracting value from what is working, but that I'm also and I actually think now that I'm, if I'm reflecting on it, I think rewilding anew has a very strong theme that ties it together, which is that there's an excitement that comes with it. There's a
call to adventure.
Excitement is maybe call to adventure is maybe even the better word to use here, because that's what happens. Is like there's a monotony. For me, there's a monotony that maybe develops over time, and then you yearn for that excitement again, and that excitement lies in something new. And so that's actually, I think, the big thing here is like, as you do the new things and you do them with excitement and passion, and you find new strengths and you are strengthened by it, like where does that lead you? We know in the unfamiliar and in the unknown, nothing is certain, but like it's going to lead you somewhere incredible.
Yeah.
And so I think there's actually a great theme that ties it together.
So I think even another word to explain is exploration. I mean, it's also you're moving into more of an explorer mindset, which I think is really important for a world that's shifting and constantly moving,
Yeah. We're going to have lots of discussions about change this year. I can't wait for it.
Yes. I was listening to Yuval Harari, and he said history isn't about the past, it's about change. And I thought it was a nice way to think about it. It's just a constant process of change that's happening, and we should use history to learn from and not repeat. Some people are stuck in history and they want to repeat dead people's problems. And so new is very much about saying, okay, well, let's move forward. Whatever's happened in the past. Let's just move. Let's keep focused on the future. So congratulations. I look forward to seeing how this impacts your paddle game, because I mean, that needs it more than anything else.
Yeah, and I need a new backhand and a new
backhand, a new forehand, new legs, new 2 right feet. And how it's going to impact the pod. I mean, hopefully you're going to be a better pod co-host and show up in new ways. Looking forward to that as well. Maybe you'll research longer than 5 minutes for the pod.
Oh yeah.
Looking forward. It's all going to be exciting. Well, thank you, Erik. I appreciate it. I'm looking forward to the year with you, and I'm looking forward to sharing with all our listeners how we progress with this. And whoever's listening, if you want to share your word of the year, please do share it on social media, send it to us, or share it online and tag us. We'd love to see what you're doing and how you're going about sort of infiltrating it into your life. And I look forward to seeing those right across social media. Any last words, Erik?
Yeah, no, I just think I'll just echo what you said. If we would love to hear from anyone who's listening to this and what your word for the year is and how you'll be applying it. We share ours with you, so please share yours with us as well. And same, I'm looking forward to the year with you and having many conversations about change and transformation, highlighting some of the things that are happening in the world around us, because ultimately that's what the pod is about, is that we want you to live expansively in a world that's changing very rapidly, and not to be confined by it, and not to feel threatened by it, but to feel like you can thrive in this world, because that's exactly what you can do. So that's it from me.
Great. Wonderful start to the year. Thank you all for joining us. If you feel that this pod helped you or made you think about something in a new way, please do share it with one of your friends. And until next week, ciao.